What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to give my final predictions on the length of Hogwarts Legacy. So I want to talk about the main story, the main campaign of this game, and then also the entirety of it, right? And, you know, one of the main things I'm sure we'll use to talk about the length of not just this game, but also any game that you can possibly think of is the incredible site, howlongtobeat.com. So I want to use that to help me with this video. I've already talked about this, by the way, once before. I want to actually, and this is maybe surprising, shift my answer just a little bit up. So let's start with that main story. The thing with Hogwarts, and I've said this before when I've gotten asked on like live streams and stuff, I don't believe this is going to be like the longest game of all time. Whenever people kind of come up with their numbers for how long they think the main story of this game is, I always tend to come below it. So I've normally run with 25 hours long to beat the main story. I'm actually going to increase that. And you know what? I'll just be bold and I'll increase it all the way to 30 hours. I'll say 30 hours for the main story. And the reason I would say that is you can actually kind of tell a trend with the gaming industry. I mean, you could probably tell this without howlongtobeat.com, but if you go on that website and you just start looking up open world games, you can look up Witcher, you can look up Assassin's Creed games like Origins or Odyssey. As time has gone on, games have obviously, ballooned. They've gotten a lot bigger. And when you look at open world games, they're not as long as some people may think they are. Now, again, like an Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the how long to beat time is 44 and a half hours. Origins is 30. The Witcher is, I believe, the longest in terms of big open world games that are like this. The Witcher, I believe, Witcher 3 is around 51 hours. Now, there's games longer, like things like Persona. Persona 5 is like 101 hours, or, something insane, like, which is an incredible game, by the way. But in terms of the games in the mold of Hogwarts Legacy, they aren't 50, 60, 65 hours. Like The Witcher is really one of, I think maybe Final Fantasy 15 maybe would be a somewhat long one as well. But you think of the biggest ones you probably can go in terms of just the main story. And really, the average is around 20 to 30 hours. In fact, if you look at Batman Arkham Knight, you look at the Middle-earth games, Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor. Actually, Mordor is shorter than War. War actually was a bigger game in terms of how long to beat it. So games, it seems like as the years have gone on, have probably moved up from an average of roughly 15 to 20 hours for an open world main story to probably somewhere in between 20 to 30. And I've seen a lot of games that have come in around that 25 to 30 mark. So just keeping up with tradition, just keeping up with what it seems like the industry is moving towards, I say 30 hours. My general thing, in case you want just like a golden rule I live by, it's quality over quantity. I've said that for years, actually. At this point, I would say this for any open world game, not just Hogwarts. If the main story of Hogwarts was 15 hours, but it was incredible the entire 15 hours, that's better than if it was 45 hours with a lot of fluff. And for me personally, that's why I probably tend to gravitate towards the smaller games. Even like in Horizon, Zero Dawn or Forbidden West, they're longer. They're like in the 30 or so hour range. I do think there's a little bit of fluff there where they don't have to be. And just using that as one example, I could probably look at every single one of these games except for maybe Witcher. Witcher is probably one that keeps the consistency pretty well, throughout it. Then we look at the entirety, right? The entire game. Now, normally, it's not necessarily a rule, but what you tend to see is almost doubling. So if you're going to go with Hogwarts Legacy, or if I'm going to go with Hogwarts being a 30-hour thing, I feel pretty confident saying the game would be around 55 to 60 hours to do literally everything. So that's collecting everything, that's doing every side quest, that's getting the best scores in the arenas that are, throughout the world, that's getting the platinum, like all this stuff, right? That's what it would be. And I think, again, that's totally fine. I know there are people out there that want this game to be a 100-plus hour thing. Again, there's, number one, actually, there's not too many, and probably less than you think, open world games that even are 100 hours. And also, what open world games, going back to my main point of quality over quantity, what open world games really need to be over 100? You got a game like The Witcher. I'm like staring at Assassin's Creed Odyssey while recording this. 141 hours to do everything. I mean, that's a little insane. Again, I mean, I invested 96 hours into Persona 5 when I beat it, but that's a different kind of game versus these open world ones. So Again, if you gave me Hogwarts and it was a 30-hour story, completely full, like there's no downtime in it, and then it was 60 hours to do everything, I'm totally fine with that. I don't need it to be 90, 100, 110 hours, but that's what I'll say. I think my main prediction for the longest time was 25 and then 50 to do everything. I'm going to move it up just a little to around, 30 hours maybe for the main story, and then around 60 hours to do literally everything you can do in the entire game. And one final thing I want to say, it's actually going to be kind of tough with this game to tell, and I'm going to be interested to actually see the numbers at the end of the day because of the different houses, right? So like, doing a completionist thing, what does that actually mean? To complete the game, to do literally everything that you can do in this game, do you need to play all the way through it with the 4 different houses? Because that would actually balloon the number up quite high, but it depends, right? Because if there's trophies that are tied to that or some sort of, achievement system, but you only need to do the first mission in order to unlock it. You don't need to do the whole game. Maybe there's not that many differences with the 4 houses, but I will just throw that out there that that's something I think is fair to say out loud, that, if the 4 houses are different enough and if there's enough, variety within them, and you have to play through all 4 times, I mean, if it takes 20, 30 hours, then you quadruple that, right? So the number would actually get quite high. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, how long you think the game is going to be. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on. But if you want to follow or support me anywhere else, all my social media is in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.